Pioneer has always known that local testing is critical to helping growers match the right product to the right acre. Conducting impact or intensively managed product advancement, characterization, and training trials locally where you farm lets you see which products offer the best performance in your environment. Earlier in the growing season, we met with Pioneer's Agronomy Research Manager, Jaron Schmall, and we wanted to check in with him once again as we get into the critical part of the growing season.
Well, Impact is an exciting program we've got with Pioneer this year to do some pre-screening of pre-commercial hybrids so that we can advance the best products for our area. It's been a really exciting year for us, just with tough for the growers from the variability in the weather patterns, but in terms of evaluating products across a wide geography and across a wide range of weather patterns, some variability in terms of drought stress and as well as high moisture conditions in certain parts of the area, giving us a really good handle on what products are going to do and how they're going to perform in different environments in the future.
After an almost perfect growing season in 2010, this season has been anything but perfect. But as Schmall points out, many fields have held their own.
So in the last 30 days or so, we've had quite a variability in weather conditions, from very wet conditions in certain parts of the area and very dry conditions in other areas. Actually, I've had some significant root lodging events too, which we don't typically see in the eastern corn belt, and that's allowed us to take a look at some products and see how things are performing across the area. So far this year, the temperatures have been pretty high, and that's we're looking at a green field of corn right here. Not a lot of disease pressure. This would be about the time we would be thinking about spraying for gray leaf spot or northern corn leaf blight, which would be two of our most common diseases in the area. But so far in most fields we've been pretty clean, and again that's probably attributable to the high temperatures that we've had. It kind of kept those things in check a little bit. Might start to see some things with the humid conditions and warm weather come in later in the season, but if we can keep the plants clean as we have so far in a lot of the geography this year, at least from a disease standpoint, things are looking pretty good.
The next 30 days are key for this year's crop, and Schmall says that is where the impact plots truly come into play.
So in the next 30 days, we're going to be walking impact plots and taking a look at product performance as we're filling those ears out. So it's a really key time for us to look at what the crop is doing post-pollination, to understand what pollination success has been like, taking a look at things like kernel rows around and kernel lengths, just to understand the consistency of those ears from plant to plant, and trying to pick out those products that are most consistent in terms of ear development, in terms of pollination, so we know we've got some stable products going forward. So a really key time as we're going into this year, and obviously with the late planting this year as well too, we're going to be looking at the dry down of products coming up here pretty soon as we get into the fall. Of course, the heat that we have had this summer across much of the area has kind of got us a little bit more back on track in terms of GDU accumulation and crop development, but things still are variable across the area. We do have some crop that was late planted, so dry down is going to be important for us and something else we're going to be looking at later into the season.
Schmall says it's important to scout your fields, looking at the whole stock from top to bottom.
Some other things we're looking at this time of year, especially in the parts of the state where we've had a little bit of root lodging. Of course, things look pretty good here, but we have had some spots where we've had some saturated soils like we've got, and blowing some crop down in the last couple of weeks. So we'll be out this time of year looking at brace fruit development and just seeing what that looks like on the plants. Typically you're going to see pretty good development like what we've got here around that 5th and 6th node, coming out and rooting pretty well. In a root lodge plant, those plants will lay over a little bit, and you will see some brace fruit development start to come out at some of these higher nodes up around the 7th and 8th node. And a lot of places we've looked at this year so far, it's been pretty good as far as a little bit of brace fruit development. The corn went down pre-tassel, and a lot of that corn is going to come back up and still yield pretty well for us.
At this time of year, a lot of growers are wondering how the crops have done in terms of pollination with the heat stress we've had. Schmall says you may be surprised by what you find.
And typically corn as a crop that was developed or originally originated in South America, it's got typically pretty good heat tolerance. So unless we have high temperatures in conjunction with a lot of drought stress, things do tend to pollinate pretty well, and that's kind of what we're looking at here today. If you gently pull back the husks around an ear, you can take a look and see what pollination progress is. The silks will drop off of an ear after each one of these individual kernels is pollinated, and the kernels that have not pollinated, the silks will remain attached. So you can see we've just about finished pollinating this particular ear. but the bud of the ear will pollinate first, so obviously that's what we're seeing here with most of those silks have dropped off. We've missed just a few here that'll have a chance to pollinate, but that ear still needs to fill out at the tip. That we should do here in the next day or so as far as those pollen tubes growing down in there and pollinating that ear. So just a real quick way to go out in the field and check and see where you're at in terms of pollination success.
One of the things to watch out for during this stage is insect pressures. Schmall explains.
Well, we can see some silk clippings from some of the insects that are common in the state. So basically what that'll look like is you've got either a Japanese beetle or a corn rootworm beetle that will mow those silks off, and you basically get this really short silk at the end of the year, which I'm sure folks have seen if they've been out in cornfields over the years at this point in time. If you've got really high insect pressure, this can affect your pollination. Typically, it's something that's isolated at field edges, and it's something we don't have to worry a lot about. But if you are out there this time of year and seeing a lot of pressure, it's something you might want to consider using an insecticide for. You can go to Pioneer.com or use our mobile website on mobilepioneer.com. There's a lot of information there that we'll talk about what do you do with silk clipping beetles and that kind of thing, and what and timing to spray. So just something else to be looking for at this time of year as we get into this pollination time period.
Pioneer is still leading with innovations in the fields, as always, and now they're helping growers manage their operations with some new online and mobile tools.
So a couple of tools that we've got this year for growers to take a look and evaluate their crop are on Pioneer.com and also on the mobilepioneer.com. We can do some calculations on growth stage. So we've got a crop here that's just now silking, which is about the stage we pulled up this field actually before we came out here today and took a look at it on the growth stage calculator, and it predicted right on about where we were with this field. So it's a nice tool for growers to be able to put in some basic information as far as planting date, their location, as well as the CRM of the corn hybrid, and get a general sense for what stage of development that crop's at. That's a nice tool just in terms of understanding pest management, timing, and those types of things. Obviously, fungicides are something we talk about this time of year, and you want those applied right around that VT to R2 time frame is typically when most of those go on. And this tool can help you understand where your crop might be to do a better job of timing those applications.